Let's get the common council for February 18th started. We could, we'll do the invocation and pledge. Bobby, would you do us the honor?
Bobby looks sharp.
Thank you. Gracious God, we thank you for this day. We thank you, God, how you continue to bless us and keep us. God, you are our leader. You're the person who we depend on to show us the way and how to be the persons you would have us to be. Continue to bless this council. Help them to continue to do the work you would have them to do. Continue to be with their families. Continue to give them the strength they need to go through the day and do all the duties they have been assigned. We ask you to bless all of our staff, all of our persons in the mayor's office, all the staff that works for the city, all the persons who are present tonight. Be with them. Be with all the persons who came to the meeting tonight. Be with them and their families. We ask you to continue to bless our community. Thank you for getting us through this cold winter and getting us through all this snow. We continue to ask you to continue to bless us as we are all looking forward to spring. God, we ask you to continue to bless our first responders. Be with them, be with their families, Lord, and just be with our community. We pray, Lord, you help us to appreciate what we've got and not take anything for granted. We ask it all in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bobby, I liked how you put that winter's over, kind of.
Man, look at those two guys. Ready for roll call, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilperson Smith. Councilperson Sestavny. Councilperson Payne.
Here.
Councilperson Sellers.
Here.
Council Vice President Gill.
Here.
Council President Julius.
Here.
Councilperson Glover.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Councilperson Samuel is absent. Everybody else is here.
All right, minutes to be approved.
Motion to approve the minutes for February 3rd, 2014 council meeting.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Oh, sorry about that. Approval of the agenda. I got ahead of myself here, gang.
You're still new. We forgive you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Mr. Glover.
Just keeping you on track.
Hey, buddy. I need it. Claims.
Requesting approval of claims totaling $477,643.43.
My comment, Amy, would be, and we've been through this before, under the Mayor General Fund, there's 2 lunches on here, and there's supposed to be a little bit more of a description on that.
Okay.
Unless you have a copy of the credit card receipts. Have you got any receipts on these 2?
I don't here with me. I think a couple council people reviewed those.
What was it? I'm sorry, I was talking about.
Lunches, it says 1, it doesn't have any description on it.
One was for a meeting with a, or where are you at? Because I'm not.
Mayor's.
Mayor's. One was with a meeting with a contractor, and one was meeting with a developer. And that, he gave us the name of the contractor, but he wouldn't give us the name of the developer, because he said it's
But I mean, there was receipts.
There was, yeah, that was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And I abstain from voting, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay. Bubby, if you could start first. Chief, Bubby's got to get somewhere. We're going to let him bump ahead of you here a little bit.
I think everybody got a packet showing what we were going to look at. The overtime was going to be switched from the sanitation account over to vehicle maintenance.
I didn't read the rubbish. They didn't. Unless it was emailed to them, but I don't know.
Okay, Stephanie was supposed to,
No, I didn't. I don't know if they got their information.
okay, so what I want to do is switch the overtime from sanitation to $12,000. No, just what I wrote down. I don't have any of that with me.
Last page. Yeah, last page. The guy in the black.
Oh, yeah.
Is this
Through
the
the
overtime,
Finance Committee,
Yeah,
the
that,
overtime you needed to
Yes.
switch over because
inherited two
of two
mechanics
employees
from street department
that we talked about at
sanitation,
the
right?
finance committee meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
What are we doing?
yeah, we talked about this in our finance meeting, and we sent the recommendation on to approve it. That was when, the rest of the council wasn't there. Do you all remember when there was like 10 employees that were moved out from under, what was it, motor vehicles, right?
Sanitation.
Right, motor vehicles, I think is the original.
And then moved, then we switched them back because we didn't know why they were moved, and because it's out of a state fund versus a general fund. Well, when we moved them back, we didn't move the overtime that was supposed to go along with those employees, so that's what that was all about,
Yeah, so we're not appropriating more money, we're just moving it over.
where it needs to be. So I make a motion to approve
Second?
Oh.
To approve what?
to move the 12,000.
From,
Is it,
Right,
okay.
okay, yeah.
It's on the additional appropriation. Okay. Okay.
Then do we want to
Just
vote
waiting
on
to
that?
approve
Yeah,
it.
vote on
Yeah,
that all at once?
And the truck's on there too.
Okay.
right, the truck, do all that at once.
Okay.
Okay.
And you don't have to hang around?
Then I don't have to hang around, so,
Nothing's changed since the finance meeting, right?
no. All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Bobby.
Thanks, Bubby. Chief?
Good evening. I think you guys have a list of some things that I want to try to cover this evening. You guys have this same one? I'll just go down from top to bottom. The first is request additional on the following GL numbers for utilities during the months the new police department will be open, and I'll be honest with you, these are total guesstimates. I mean, we really don't have an idea of what these numbers will be until we get into the facility and see where we are. So these were numbers these were starting numbers just to kind of get those funds started. So when we do move in, hopefully in July or August, that we've got some funds to pay for utilities. Obviously, these numbers will adjust as we get into the building and are in there for more time to see, where we fall. I think these numbers were based off fire headquarters is where we got a lot of these numbers and took those. We are running geothermal in the new building, so hopefully our utility bills will be way lower than a normal utility bill will. So that's one reason why we spent the extra money to do that, was to hopefully get the heating and the air down in that building and save on some money. So again, these are just numbers that we figured that would get us through the end of the year. If they're not enough, obviously I'll be back to get more. If they're too much, then we can adjust those for next year's budget.
Chris, the question I had was, why are we needing to appropriate this money now? I mean, we're just in February, you have a utility line item that are,
I think it was just to get these GL numbers up started,
okay.
just so the contractors, and eventually we will start getting some bills once they get under roof and there's some other stuff that's going on. They were just to get these started. We were told by the contractor we needed to go ahead and get these going, and this money needed to be there, so. Amy, do we need to assign these numbers like under his budget to utilities?
Has telephone utility currently in his budgets. We can create these accounts in ledgers going.
Is that what we need to do? Does this have to be done tonight, or can you build that and come up with the numbers and then bring it back to the next meeting, or does it matter?
We added them in on the additional, we used to approve them and create the GL accounts.
And I have a question about the gas utility.
Yes.
It says this money will also be used for our current gas bills. Are you guys running short on your gas bills already?
We don't have a gas bill.
Oh,
We
you
don't-
don't?
we-
Well, it says
they-
it's for the money we
Right.
have for warehouses. I was thinking that was out at River Ridge, no?
No, that's, the only gas that we have is the two buildings that are over here on Mechanic Street.
So is that,
We don't actually have a gas line item. That's all, that's paid out of, we pay that out of other accounts. That's our continuing ed or our police intelligence fund that we pay
how
those
much
gas
does
bills
that
with.
run? Because that never should have been, you never should have been paying out of that period.
Well, that's,
Is that-
you know, when we took over those here 5, 6, 7 years ago and started storing stuff in there, that's just how they had always done it. And I agree, it
Yeah,
probably should have
yeah.
been changed then. So, I don't think they're very much because those, I mean, we keep, the only time the heat's on over there is when there's training in those buildings. So I wouldn't think they'd be very much. I could find that out. And to be honest with you, I don't think that the new facility has gas. I called and asked the contractor that yesterday, because I don't think there's any gas lines being run to the new building. So we may be able to just eliminate that line on that also. So
Okay.
Chief, do we know how much money we're going to save by, I assume we're going to be shutting down a lot of the stores that we're using now and moving
Right.
it to the new facility.
Right.
Do we have an idea of how
the only
much we're gonna
storage, the
save?
only storage that has, and the only thing that's in there is heat, is these two facilities over here.
Okay.
And I would say that it's minimal. It may
Minimal.
be $500 a year. So the River Ridge facility has no heat or air, so there's a water bill up there that's about $5 a month, I think.
Now,
All that today.
Yeah.
are we gonna get out of the courthouse
Yes.
completely?
Yes. We'll be completely out of that.
Everything will be,
Everything will be under one.
Well, that'd be nice.
So, oh yeah.
save us some money.
So, and again, these numbers can be adjusted once we get in there, and, you know, I think, to be honest with you, I'm hoping that electric, the 12,000 for electric is way high, especially with the geothermal that we're going to be running. I think that's a high estimate. Until we get in there and see computers and lights and all that kind of stuff, we don't really know. So, again, this was a kind of a shot in the dark just to get these up and running, so.
So you're basically wanting to set up these funds, put this money in there to fund 2014 expected costs?
Correct.
What's the date of completion of that?
They're hoping, well, weather's killed us. It's hard to lay masonry in sub-zero weather, but they're hoping to have the facility done, completed June the 1st. Gives us punch list time from, that's what they're saying. They have to be completed by August 1st or there's a penalty. So completion date has to be August 1st. We'll see. But they're saying June, punch list through the month of July, hopefully start the move sometime in July.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, keep your fingers crossed. They got a lot of work to do. I don't see it happening, but also I'm not in the construction business, so.
Interesting.
Amy, this can be done just when we approve the additional appropriation? Okay.
Next on the list is request for purchase service agreement for RCS, which is radio communications. We found out we have no service plan with any radio company. RCS services all of our portables, mobiles, and our dispatch consoles and consolettes. Currently, every time that they take a portable or have to come over here, it's costly. So I think this will save us money in the long run. We have spoken with them about 911 being consolidated, and I'll make sure before we sign any deal that this can be adjusted, or we can strictly do this on a monthly basis. So if we do move some of our consolettes to a county central dispatch, then those will fall off of here. But we still maintain all of our portables, mobiles, and we also still maintain 2 repeaters that are on the Watson Water Tower up at Utica-Sellersburg Road that the city owns that are 800 megahertz frequencies. So this service agreement covers all of that to make sure that we don't have any unknown expenses. The consulate, we actually have one consulate that's down now, and what that is that controls our dispatch, and that's probably going to be close to $1,500 to $2,000 to repair. It has to go back to Motorola. So we're trying to avoid those Our portable radios take the most abuse, obviously, because they're out here every day, and it's $250 to $500 every time they go without a service agreement. So if we get into a service agreement, then hopefully we can eliminate some of those costs.
So is RCS, is that local?
Yes, it's over in Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
Does that cover parts or just service?
That's just service.
Just service.
Just service. And if you look,
That's on-site service or anything that
that's
you take to
on-site
them?
service or anything we take to them. Yep.
So if they have to go and do any type of service on those repeaters, that includes them climbing that tower?
Yes.
Servicing?
Yes.
Preventative maintenance, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it's all included. Next, we received over $30,000, I think the number is around 32, for insurance reimbursement due to accidents. We did have one new car that was totaled in an accident at Utica-Sellersburg Road and Charlestown Road. One of our guy pulling a trailer ran the stop sign and T-boned one of our police cars. And obviously unfortunately he had no insurance. So this money, we need to move it to repurchase that car that was destroyed. We do have one that we can get tomorrow. The cost is $27,900 plus striping. So we're looking probably right around $30,000 that will come just out of the insurance money that has already been reimbursed to the city.
Amy, have you cashed those checks? Have they been deposited yet?
I don't think these were current.
Yes, these I got from Amir. There were three. There was an 8,000, 7,000, and a 21,000.
No, because we talked to him here today, and he said there was a 9,000 and a 10,000. That's
Yeah,
all
there's
we
a
need.
21 that is guaranteed, that's coming from our insurance carrier.
Okay.
So that is coming. So
So with the figures you just gave us, that's $36,000 in insurance checks we have,
right,
and you're looking at replacing a vehicle that's going to cost after striping about $30K.
right.
Okay.
How many, there were 2 vehicles involved in the accident?
We've had 3.
3? And
Two
you're
were
just replacing one?
two were older, and they weren't worth very much. So we're not replacing those.
Okay, all right.
So we're just
We
replacing the
have to
one.
I'm trying to figure out, because usually it's one car, per police officer, so.
We've begged, borrowed, and stealed, and we've got everybody in a vehicle.
Okay.
So
All right.
the other 2 that were total were older. I think they were actually the older white ones. So they were at the end of their service life anyway.
Okay.
So. Also, with the RCS, the 13,000, and I failed to mention, we had appropriated in our Lloyd $20,000 that was appropriated to us for software licensing that we didn't need. So there was that $20,000 line item that was put into our budget that we won't need. So I was hoping to take that 13,000 out of that 20,000 that was already appropriated. So
Good.
that was already there. So. No, it was for New World mobile licensing, and we purchased those last year. That was a budget item last year that just got carried over to this year and was appropriated. So we can just change that appropriation, what needs to come out of there. So that money should already be there. Next is money to replace the retired canine. We had one of our service canines, police canines, that served the city for 8.5 years. That recently developed a seizure disorder and had to be retired. So the dog and the handler, the dog was retired and the handler's getting out of it. To replace a police canine is approximately $7,000. Those dogs come in here semi-trained. They come in trained, but then Glenn Jackson, who's a master trainer for our department, will take the handler and the dog and put them through another 6-week course to get them certified. So this $7,000 is to replace the canine that had to be retired.
How old is the canine? It's not a puppy, or is it a 2-year-old one?
The dog that will be purchased, about 18 months.
Okay.
18 months to 2 years.
And you used the 7,000 left over from the 20?
Absolutely. With another 100 and something.
Good thing.
So, yeah. The third is the request for The firearms training simulator that we had talked about last year, that we asked for appropriation for, it is, the actual quote is $74,526. That quote is still good. We called them today, and just to make sure. Basically, and we've discussed it before, this will greatly improve firearms training at the police department. We also would like to use it for the Citizens Academy that we're going to start next year, and also basically be able to rent it in-house to where other agencies can pay us to come in and use our training room and our training facilities, and also use this simulator. I know the 74.5 is a big hit for Lloyd. I talked to the leasing group today and got some rough numbers to lease the equipment. A 3-year leases, and these are approximate numbers because I talked to him today, are about $26,600 a year. A 4-year lease would be about $20,300 a year, and a 5-year lease would be about $16,600. We would obviously pay the company the money up front, and then we would go through the leasing group and basically extend that out. So Lloyd doesn't take that $75,000 hit this year. We could extend it out and make sure that it's a budget item for however long we want to do it. So
The problem that we've got with Lloyd is it's really taxed. I mean, you only have, I can't remember what was left in it for this year.
Well, I talked to Amy. Amy, there was $400,000 that was unappropriated last year, right? And this was, we budgeted it and then we moved it to this year and then we pulled it at the end of the year. So I think they're thinking we only have $142,000, but we have the,
There's 140, whatever that number is, 142 that's revenue this year that's not appropriated. But then that doesn't count the beginning cash for this year, which is
surplus.
and Chris, because I remember when we had the workshop, or well, really one workshop, I think we kind of met, we were looking at the new police station.
Yes.
Because I know it was actually, I had a conversation with Major Lynch with, since you have big enough meeting rooms there, it opened us up for some more trainings, and they're federal trainings, and with this simulator, we
Right.
can...
Josh has filed an application for our new facility to be federally certified so we can hold more trainings in-house and have a federal certification. It's where we can hold bigger, which does two things for us. Some of those trainings we won't get money for, but we will get seats for. So we can put our officers through a lot of that training that we host. Like with the NTOA, National Tactical Officers Association is one of them that's federally recognized that we can host those trainings and get free seats for. So,
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think right now you all only do live fire training twice a year, correct?
correct,
So, because of the expense.
correct.
And this would allow you to basically go,
Weekly
Once a
if we
month
had
if
to.
you want.
Right, correct.
okay, so you're constantly staying on top of your training without that additional expenditure every year of ammunition.
Right, and this court also gives us the opportunity to create our own scenarios. So what we'd like to do is work with the school system and create some active shooter situations that actually use our schools. They'll come in and show us how to create them and how to do them, and then we can actually use buildings that are here in the city for our training.
So our officers are learning the layouts of each of our schools.
Correct. So, and that's all I have today. Short list.
Oh, is that it?
All of this is on the
Yeah, it's on the appropriation.
appropriation ordinance, so.
So it looks like the two outstanding things, because from what Councilman Sellers said, you can take the $20,000, pay your service agreement, and replace the K-9 out of that.
Right,
The car was $30,000, but you've got $36,000 in checks, so you can cover that.
correct.
The additional appropriations at their top are basically setting up new funds for the new police station. At the very bottom, the biggest thing sticking out is the $75,000 for the machine.
Yes, sir.
That does stick out.
I didn't.
Just
did I
a little
say
bit.
that- Did I say
You
stick
said
out?
that.
And again, we can spread those out. I mean, that's, I know that's not typically the best thing to do is to pay interest is for the city, but if it helps, get that piece of equipment that will help us, and I think we can offset that interest by renting it out to other agencies.
Well, let me ask you this. If we purchase it, does it come with any type of maintenance agreement? Or if we lease it, I assume if we lease it, then they maintain it while we lease it, correct?
No, we would pay, the company is TI Training Corporation. We would basically, the lease would be through a local company.
Okay.
So
Separate.
we would be separate. TI they would receive the full amount. So any service agreement that TI would have
It's totally separate.
is totally separate.
Chief,
Yes,
may I add, it comes with a year of bumper warranty with the package, for lack of a better term. It also comes with training where TI will send representatives to our agency to train instructors on how to operate the system.
For a year? Or,
And it also comes with, every year TI Training develops 12 new scenarios. With some of the other companies that provide simulators that we looked at, you have to purchase those. You get 100 scenarios and that's all you get. With this system, you have 435 scenarios that come standard, and every year they develop 12 new that come with it free. They send them to you. And this simulator is not just firearms marksmanship, it's decision making, use of force, the number one cause of litigation and risk to any city or department. That is the main focus. Yes, our officers are going to get more practice on the range, Brian, but the decision making, the stress inoculation, that is the key. Can't expect people to make these split-second decisions whenever they're training is me standing in front of a PowerPoint reading on something. This is them in a simulator making those decisions, and then it's got a picture-in-picture debrief where after you go through the scenario, you can actually watch yourself and go step by step and how you reacted to the threat presented. Also included is a TASER course, where again, it's use of force on how to use TASER. TI Training is the only system, or the only company that TASER International has certified that can use their software. So to purchase that would be $20,000 if we went to TASER International. TI Training is the only company that comes with the package.
And to add to that, when Dennis and I got to see this new system, and what I really liked, what most people don't understand is we have officers on the street that are usually first on that scene. That we got trained SWAT, they get trained, but what I loved about this simulator is that he could add in additional sirens, he could add in other distractions that these officers get used to in their scenarios that, so when they get on that, it helps with their instinct, their reaction, their decision making.
One scenario could have 30 different branches. Whoever the instructor is, as the scenario is playing out, the officer uses the proper verbalization, he can simply tap the screen to change the scenario to go from a non-compliant to a compliant individual. So
It is impressive.
Did everybody get to see it last year?
I haven't seen it.
We need to move. Thank you.
Let me ask you this real quick. When you say we could offer training here, looking at that as a possible revenue source, if we were to send people to be trained at another facility, how much are we talking that we would pay? I guess my question would be, how much can we see as a revenue source coming in?
And that's
Or do we even go as a revenue source? Are we just going to offer it as a city?
We could do it as a revenue source, but then you start talking about chiefs of police having to do the same thing I'm doing.
I get you.
And come up with the money to do it. So I think there is a revenue source that we could explore to say, yeah, we'll make $10,000 a year off this piece of equipment. That would be, I think that would be just a guess. So.
I got you. Okay.
and with the Citizens Academy, like the chief spoke about, this will allow us to do some of that training without actually taking citizens in the field to conduct that training. Thus reducing any risk of injury or anything like that. We can do it in our police station.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you all.
All right, unfinished business, none. Amy, ordinance of additional appropriation, I wonder what that'll be.
would you like me to go through the ones that weren't covered already? Okay.
For the most part, we know them, don't we?
Yeah, the third one down is the Laserfish contract. The fourth one down is actually cash advisory services that I didn't have in my budget for this year, and it pays for itself. This is interest income we're generating by hiring an outside firm to invest some of our money for us.
What was the gaming?
The gaming is actually the Christmas party. We didn't get the bill until this year, and it wasn't in this year's budget. The Public Arts was a request from Nathan and Shane. He's not here to speak about that, but
Is that, on
The
the public
cash
arts,
is-
is that for a 3-year term, 4-year term?
on which thing, I'm sorry?
On the public arts? It's $100,000. Do you know what
I
that's
think
for?
the cash was, I think there was 180,000 in cash, and he was asking to appropriate that much of it. I'm not really sure what it's for. We put it under a 300 series, professional services, contractual services.
Did Nathan had mentioned that some of the other, like redevelopment and UEZ is paying into this? We're actually committed to it, but there'll be other redevelopment and UEZ will put money in to offset this cost.
They already have. It's part of that pool of money. Uh-huh.
Well, I guess
They
that was
already
my...
have. There's a pool of money, we're just appropriating what we've already, a portion of what we have in our
Correct.
fund right now.
We've already approved the money, it's just,
Oh, okay.
this
Moving
is,
it.
it's all coming into, going through her. Yeah, so it's been
What's
approved.
the ordinance?
What's the stenographer, park
What's
stenographer?
That was an oversight to
I remember talking.
whoever takes minutes at the Parks Authority. It wasn't in the parks budget this year.
We hired somebody to do this.
I think that's pretty much everything.
What's the number?
Do we want to take out the 7,000 for the K-9 based on
Five.
the discussion?
I'm sorry, what?
Well, that's a question, since it's going to be taken, that, out of the 20 that's already there.
Mhm.
You could take out the 7 for the K-9.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I make a motion we pass 2014 OR 5 with the deletion of the 7,000 for the K-9. So that one change.
Second?
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Just for clear,
Reading. Is this-
Yeah, is this
Oh,
the first
clarification,
person?
I noticed on the notice to taxpayers that the advertising,
First,
March 3rd, so
first and second reading.
you'll take care of the advertising, right?
Yes, I think it's already been submitted. Yeah.
So final approval has to be the next meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Public hearing.
for clarification, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, you're fine.
What was the 110,000 for the public arts for again? I remember talking about it, but just to refresh my memory.
Okay,
Is that when
From my
we-
memory, what we had money that we moved to a fund for this, as well as UEZ and redevelopment put money into a fund
Right.
for this. And this is the appropriation
Of that money?
of that money.
Yeah.
Of ours might be a third of the amount. I don't remember the exact, maybe 36?
I thought it was, I could be wrong, but I thought it was 40,000 or something. Yeah.
But I think wasn't there a term, wasn't there a 3-year term or something like that?
I
that
thought
this
there
gonna
was,
be over
too.
3 years?
Yeah.
We hired a group to kind of come in and look and shape it, and then when they were going to go hire a coordinator, and it was going to move from there, correct?
Right, and this allows them to spend it.
Okay.
And Nathan will be here next
So
week.
then should we, I guess we can talk about it before we approve it on the final reading, but should we be appropriating the entire amount if it's for a 3-year period?
I think Nathan requested it, so
Yeah, I think
he's
he
got a
picked this
plan
number
for it.
on
And before we
purpose.
do the third
Yeah.
reading, then we can ask him those questions.
But yeah, I would think we'd want to appropriate it all at once since we're going to be a 3-year contract. But we can ask Nathan.
Okay,
Good enough.
so first and second reading, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Scott? You got anything? Nothing?
Should we talk to the clerk?
Did you have any?
No.
No. We had one public comment, Terry Hicks.
First of all, let me just say, Chief, I am so in support of that simulator. I have been through the Citizens Police Academy in Louisville. That simulator is amazing. And it gave me a whole new understanding of what it's like to be a police officer on the street and have to make a split-second decision. And it made me understand the difference between why somebody gets shot one time and why somebody gets shot 6 times, because those guns fire that fast and they fire multiple times, and you basically have not even any control. It just happens. And when they did that in Louisville, it just changed so much of the concept of what a police officer does in the field. So, I mean, as someone who's been through a police academy and hopes to go through the one over here, absolutely. It will pay for itself 100-fold just by the difference, by the change that it will make in the public's perception of your police department and your police officers.
Good deal.
And moving on. Just wanted to kind of give you a heads up where we're at on our emergency exit. Spoke with Dan today, and they are moving ahead full steam with this. River Ridge is really working with him. They're going to put dual fences in like they had discussed at the meeting on either side of the roadway. They're not going to have to do nearly as much maintenance on the road as what they had anticipated. So they'll be putting in a fence, putting in 2 new fences for the cattle, and then once the gate is up, they're going to put like a lock box that you would put on, say, home for sale. And then we in Crystal Springs will have access to that. And what my thought is, rather than a resident, just a general resident having access to that, is to get with a couple of maybe police officers and firefighters within the neighborhood and have them have access to it, so that if there's an emergency, we can contact them. And, you know, it's just a little more of a secure type thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm here for, because you know I'm going to ask for something, is Dan and Walsh Construction do have a signed contract. However, that contract was signed over a week ago, and it's still sitting on Dan's desk because Walsh Construction said they were going to be there within 30 minutes to pick it up. Nobody's ever shown up
From Walsh.
from Walsh.
Can't you all take it to Walsh?
Well, that's what I said, but they said no, they would come and get it.
I think from what I understand, not to interrupt you, Dan has had to really, let's
Bend
just say,
over
bend over backwards to kind
and-
of get this moving along. So to
Like
ask
twist
him
like a pretzel.
to sign the contract and take it to him is
Well, but
probably
he's
asking a little bit
they've
much.
offered to take it to him.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we will come and get it.
Okay.
And, you know, the thing about it is, from my understanding is, once that contract has been signed, there has to be a general meeting between Boulder Creek and Crystal Springs to get their approval before anything can move forward with it. And they're wanting to start on this March 1st. Well, if they haven't picked up the contract, notice hasn't gone out to the residents, we can't move forward. So, you know, I don't know if any of you all have contacts with Walsh Construction, but if you do, if maybe you can kind of put a bug in their ear that they need to get this moving. You know, we've offered them our clubhouse to hold the meetings, you know, to hold a joint meeting, you know, to hold individual meetings, however they want to do it.
They may be in the Board of Public Works tomorrow. They're usually there on a consistent basis, so if they're there, I'll definitely bring it up. Now, there's 2 factions. There's one that works on the east end and downtown, but surely we can find a contact somewhere. If Dan happens to have a name that he's been talking to, that
I'm
may help us a
sure
little
he
bit.
does.
That was that guy that was at Board of Public Works a couple weeks ago.
I think
That's the East
I
End
think
one.
that's the one. You're right. If he's there, we'll definitely talk about
Okay, because, you know, like I said, as soon as they can pick that up and you know, do whatever needs to be done, you know, I'm assuming that they have to send the letters out. Yeah, I don't know, or if the state has to send the letters out.
I don't know.
We
It's going to
don't
be a
know.
city street. I don't know what type of notification has to go out.
I don't know. That's just what, you know, Walsh told Dan, was that the state mandates
Right.
that has to be done.
Okay.
So, you know, we can't move forward with it until something else is done.
Okay.
So any help that you all can give, we would really, really appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll
Thank you
check
very
them out.
much.
Good deal, thanks.
Thanks, Terry.
There's no other public comment. We'll go to council comment. Mr. Smith?
I don't have any.
I have a couple comments, mostly related to parks, if that's all right. I just want to let everybody know that there's a lot of interest in the use of the artificial turf field. Talking to a semi-pro football team to practice and play games there. Talking to a semi-pro soccer team to practice, maybe play games there, but at least practice there. Looking to do some tournaments. There's a lot of interest in select soccer teams with the spring being as bad as it's been. Everybody wants to get out and start kicking the ball around, so there's a lot of interest there. I wanted to also mention, just make a comment about surplus, okay, about the city's surplus. I know there was a finance committee that talked about the mayor's comments about the city having a surplus, and I just want to put out my 2 cents. Some of the surplus, quote-unquote surplus, I think is operational budget, money we haven't spent yet. For example, going back to parks, you know, we've almost finished the soccer and football complex, but it's not finished yet, and we still have like $400,000 in an account, and we probably have $400,000 worth of bills that will be spent when it's all done and said. So that's $400,000 that's already accounted for, hasn't been spent, but it's definitely not surplus. It will be spent. And also, just to clarify, I guess, my thought on this as well is to see where we're at as far as what's accounted for in an operational budget, what's really surplus, how much debt we have, all those types of questions. I would be in favor of maybe hiring a third-party professional to spend a little bit of time on this. Maybe somebody who's not from here, associated with Jeffersonville or the administration. Maybe somebody out of Indy or Evansville, somebody who understands the state budget and all that kind of stuff. And just take a look at them. Maybe we can ask them some questions. One of the questions, you know, I think that we've talked among ourselves is, what's a good amount of a rainy day fund for a governmental entity? It's one thing to be a private person, to say how much, you know, 6 months worth of expenses, you know, if you go Dave Ramsey, or if you go as a corporation, it may be, you know, 20% of your operational expenses. But as a city, what's a good number? Is it 10%, 5%, 20%? So I don't know. I just throw that out as a thought, as a possible way to kind of clarify the situation, fiscal situation where we're at today, and maybe get some opinions on where we should be as far as surplus or rainy day fund.
I think that's a good idea, to get an independent person. No comment.
No comment.
No comment.
What?
Yeah, can you believe it?
Brian?
Just real quick, the only thing I'll just add to what Councilman Zastani said was, when I read the article, I was kind of thinking finally a good news story was going to come out of Jeff that was going to be interesting, and then as I read the article, I just kind of, it was a little shocking to see some of the comments. But regardless of that, I just think we need to take a step back and realize that a surplus of money means that we're doing a great job fiscally. We're providing services to the community that they expect. I would think as this city grows, that this council is going to have to take some actions and look at, you know, as River Ridge grows, District 6 is growing with houses, you know, how are we going to continue to provide services, especially in the police department and things like that? The 2 top complaints I get out of constituents are usually speeding through neighborhoods and theft. And, you know, and my answer to that would be to put more police officers on the street. So if we do find in our independent study that we do have some surplus money out there, then that may be something that I'd like to see this council take a look at. So that's all I've got.
Nothing to add?
Okay, I've got a couple things. I sent everybody an email on a tour of Voss Clark. I reached out to Joe Rodia. We're going to do that Thursday, the 27th at 1. And the other thing, I spoke with Kathleen Crowley today from 1SI, and we are going to set up a tour, and I'll explain why, with Amatrol on Tuesday, February 25th. And I think, I'll have to check this, but I think it's at 2 o'clock. But I'll be sending an email out to everybody. It is at 2 o'clock. It says Amatrol is currently evaluating a number of locations to expand their operations. We are working with the state of Indiana on a competitive expansion package to convince Ametro to expand in their Jeffersonville facility. To that end, they are preparing a request for a tax abatement consideration and look forward to appearing in front of the Redevelopment Commission and the Jeffersonville City Council in support of this project. And one thing that, I've asked for is that we get out there and we see what they're doing, because Ametro is doing evidently some very unusual things in their industry. So I will be sending everybody an email out, but they are inviting us to come out, and I think we ought to take them up on that. So anyway, February 25th, 2 o'clock at Ametro. The other one's Voss Clark, Thursday the 27th at 1. Last thing that I'll hit, I have been getting calls on Utica Pike since it opened up. And I don't know who did the paving after, I think Christiani did the sewer work in there. Does anybody know? Man, it's rough.
It's terrible. It's worse than the Kennedy Bridge.
It's bad.
It is.
But, Brian, at Board of Public Works, could you look into that tomorrow?
It's been brought up before. I know there were some complaints that came in, and I thought they were supposed to come in and do some resurfacing. I think it was a matter of when you go
Settling.
east of Allison Lane, where they actually had to cut in some of the sewer lines.
It's sewer work, yeah.
So, I'll check into that tomorrow morning. Not a problem.
But it is rough. I've gotten a new number of complaints. So, I think that's it.
This?
I'll sign it. I'll sign it.
I'll make a motion, Jerry.
Second.